everybody, and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion, the Garage. Lovely to be with you. Sorry about yesterday. We ended up having some technical problems with the recordings we did on the weekend and had to rush into the garage on yesterday morning, and make good. So the posting was rather late. Thank you for persevering with us. But it is quite amazing how I can sit here, even with a bung eye, I can sit here with relatively simple equipment and a fantastic Canon camera. What is it, Pete? It's a
5D, I think.
5D, which can also, of course, shoot movies. And with the help of a computer, it's just amazing what you can do with very little equipment. Basic. But I think basic is good. Keep it simple, stupid. I like it. Keep it simple. I mentioned to you last Friday when we were live streaming, jeremycordeaux.com, 9 o'clock till 12, live streaming from the dining room table, that the government in Canberra says that its projected infrastructure build, in other words, all the things they promised to build for us, well, we're paying for it, so anyway, our infrastructure build is too inflationary. Inflationary. Well, like the cost of electricity isn't inflationary. That ricochets around the entire economy, ladies and gentlemen. Everything we do, everywhere we go, everything we buy, everything is affected by the high cost of electricity, which is totally unnecessary. So, what they've said is that they will scrap 82 big ticket items out of the budgeted $120 billion spend. Now, will those infrastructure cancellations be in Labor electorates? Or would they be in Liberal electorates? I wonder if they even noticed or cared. I think politicians are always going to behave like politicians, aren't they? Well, maybe they didn't have a whiteboard, and maybe they'd maybe sort of not like handing out grants to local electorates, but it would be significant, because I know that here in South Australia, people up in Harndorf were looking forward to a federal government infrastructure build of a bypass road, so all of that heavy, and I'm talking about semi-trailers and long loaders, didn't have to go through the main street of Harndorf. Well, I would suspect that lovely little township would be a Conservative or a Liberal electorate. So I'm not saying that's why it was cut, but the locals are pretty hot on that, and I can understand it. You don't want a lovely little town like Harndorf. It's not that they speed through the town, it's just that it ruins the ambience. Anyway, I hope your project survived the cut. So at the next election, however, it is a lesson, isn't it? When you hear a whole bunch of promises, commitments made by either party, just remember, they can always cancel them. And then they'll tell us that it was in our own interest that we got them cancelled. Now, I can't believe it. Through the ABC, it's been revealed that here in South Australia this summer, now this is talking about electricity costs, this is the most energy-rich country in the world. Gas, coal, uranium. Well, we have been told here in South Australia we have to expect, pardon me, load shedding. Load shedding, which is code for blackouts. Blackouts. We have the benefit, of course, of the most alternative energy anywhere in the country, which turns out to be the most expensive energy anywhere in the country. Oh, we, of course, were told that alternative energy was much cheaper. Lies. Lies. a demonstration of the incompetence of the Labor government. And it's almost deceit too, because they know, they damn well know. So the big polluters, China and India, China on 30%, that is 30% responsible for global emissions, and India around, I think, about 8%, 9%, get our cheap coal and energy to use and to prosper with, and their people will be benefited from. And we, the smallest polluter, the smallest 1%, we get the most expensive electricity and the least reliable. Well done, Anthony Albanese, well done. And the amazing thing to me is that you get away with it. You actually get away with it. And thanks to the media, of course, who is also to blame, partly because it's asleep at the wheel, or either that, or they're in bed with these people in Canberra. The strikes on Friday, you know, our poor school kids are being brainwashed in the classroom. They're being indoctrinated, not educated, by these activists, not teachers. Last Friday, it was climate change. Last Friday, climate change. Next Friday, it's going to be the Gaza war. The Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine. Now these kids are being weaponized by these lefty school teachers. And again, speaking of the media, why wouldn't a journalist ask some of these kids, little vox pop out as they demonstrate, hey, what are you doing here? Who told you that this was a good or helpful idea? What do you want to achieve? What do you know about the climate? What do you know about Palestine? What do you know about Israel? No, they're given their flags and they're given their banners, placards, and their cliches, and the things that they've got to say, spruik, yell over and over again. And as I say, it's nothing more than weaponizing our children, and we shouldn't have a bar of it. Speaking of the ABC, they are totally promoting the Gaza side of the war. A couple of Palestinians say, what can we do? What can we do? As they suffer, and suffer terribly, of course. Well, what do? They join rallies, chant slogans, wave placards. No. Go to the cause of the problem. Don't just treat the effect. The cause of the problem is that you got in bed with a whole bunch of terrorists, or they got into bed with you and you didn't have the common sense to throw them out. I'm sorry, you're known by your friends. Turn on Hamas. Call them out. Throw them out. Turn them in. That's what you have to do. The Germans suffered terribly from the early 1930s on till 1945 because they went along with Hitler. The Japanese, because they went along with Tojo. And all dictators usually end up taking their own lives. They don't want to face up to war crimes, and they just simply leave their people to pay the price, like the people of Gaza are paying the price right now. You know, the one thing we learn from history, of course, is that we learn nothing from history, which is a sadness in itself. I think the eye is getting better. I think it's getting better. It'll be a lot better when I can get some reading glasses when it's all settled down. It's the anniversary, by the way, of 20 years ago this week that we had the Howard Costello government baby bonus. Would you like to see that? Would you like to see that again? Rather than immigration? one for mum, one for dad, and one for Australia. I think that would be a good idea. Here's a thought, not a good one, not a pleasant one, but a timely one. Australia's productivity, which is, in other words, our wealth, our GDP, has been going backwards for 40 years. I got a shock when I saw that. I thought we might have slipped a bit or something, but going backwards for 40 years. The trade unions who own the Labor government have a motto: the least amount of work for the most amount of money over the shortest number of hours. Although that's what I fancy their motto is. I don't think they'd deny it. I think they would see that as their job on behalf of their members. But their members second, they're Australians first. And what we do for Australia is a very, very important thing on a day-to-day basis, and it translates into the work we all do on a day-to-day basis.
Jeremy, this might be... we can put that photo in. Now you're talking about productivity, the photo of all the cars.
Oh, yeah. If we can put that in,
I
think that could be most appropriate. Pete showed me a photograph of an intersection. I'm not exactly sure where the intersection is, but it's an Australian intersection. And you look at it and you say, what is there about this picture? And you look at it and you really can't pick it. It just looks like a busy intersection. But when you read the caption, it says that every car in that photograph was made in Australia. And that's not so long ago. Now, the unions, I'm not saying they did it single-handed, because we had Govt in there with his Lima Declaration, which exported a lot of jobs and a lot of industry to the third world countries. But the unions played a part by simply, well, I guess you could say, doing their job, which is seeing to it that their members have the least amount of work for the most amount of money over the shortest number of hours. And it's a simple way to go broke. Hence, I guess, you can go to an intersection and I don't think you'd find one car made in Australia. We can turn this around, you know, we can. But you look at this photograph and you'll find yourself not being terribly surprised that we've been going to years. The federal government, God, I don't know. They say wages, talking about unions and strikes and productivity, wages have risen a record 15%. We're doing our job. Terrific. Fantastic, you say. No, it's not. Now, these stupid people in Canberra don't get it. They don't get what I was saying a moment ago either. Higher wages fuel inflation. Whatever increase you get evaporates. Money is only worth what it will buy. This government has us chasing our tail. Every pay rise we get is lost at the supermarket checkout or when we pay our electricity bill. And they think in Canberra that they've done a good job for us. And then the interest rates, of course, have got to go up again. The best thing that a government can do, apart from productivity and keeping jobs in Australia, is simply to keep the cost of living down. Simple. Simple. I'll leave you with a couple of dates for today. What have we got here? It's the 21st. 1980. 83 million viewers tuned in to American television. I'm not sure which network it was, but they tuned in to Dallas. The Dallas episode to find out Who shot JR? Who cares? I seem to remember, I never looked at the show, but I seem to remember that he enjoyed being thoroughly dislikable. I can't even think of the bloke's name.
Larry Hagman.
Larry Hagman.
And he was such a good comedian. That was the funny thing. He was an evil man in Dallas. But
I remember I think he's only one of the few people who have ever had 2 liver transplants. I think he drinks a bit. Has he gone to God?
Not sure, Jeremy.
No, we must check up that. 1783, the first manned flight in a hot air balloon. Marlowe Thomas was born in 1938, Danny Thomas's daughter. That Girl, she was starring in the 1980s, I think. Fire killed 85 and injured 591 in the MGM Grand Hotel, Las Vegas fire on this day in 1980. Henry Purcell, he was a fantastic composer, wasn't he? Wonderful marches and very stirring music, the music of Purcell. He died of tuberculosis. 1695, his music lived on. Telly Savalas was born in New York in 1922. Goldie Hawn was born in Washington. Came to fame in the 1980s, Rowan Martin's Laugh-In show, won an Academy Award as Best Supporting Actress for her role in Cactus Flower. 1945 she was born, same year I was born. Who was she married to?
Well, I think it's Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell, yeah.
I think.
That rings a bell. Kurt Russell. Vulcanized rubber was patented in England by Thomas Hancock in 1843. Sir Samuel Cunard was born in Canada, the shipping magnate, 1787. The first television gardening program was broadcast by the BBC on this day in 1936. In Your Garden with Mr. Middleton, it was called. I'll tell you something funny. I bumped into Michael Keelan. Michael started his gardening, or his media gardening career, because he ran a nursery before that, Keelan's Nursery. Anyway, he started out doing that show with me. I think it was on a Saturday or a Sunday, because I used to do 6 days a week when I was at 5DN in the early days. So it was the first gardening show that we attempted to do, and it was very successful. Although Heine's were involved in one earlier than that, I think, but I digress. The point of the little story is that I bumped into Michael and I said, "Oh, you must come and come on my show, JeremyCordeau.com, around the dining room table, Friday morning. Can you drop by? We'll have a talk." Anyway, I said, "Yeah, I'd love to. And then he rang me up and he said, the radio station, 5AA, wouldn't let him. You believe that? Like I'm going to, how's that going to hurt 5AA?
Well, we can live in hope. Well, I can.
I
anyway.
thought you were maintaining a dignified silence. Oh, I just thought that was very silly. I mean, golly, gee whiz. Ah, dear. Now, thank you very much for viewing the Court of Public Opinion, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you'll join me tomorrow morning. No, of course, we've got... I'm out of sync with my recordings, aren't I? Because we've got Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah, it'll be tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Provided I'm not in hospital.
Well, you're not going to hospital. You'll be all right. So we'll record Wednesday and Thursday tomorrow, and then we'll be right back in sync with everything. Thank you for bearing with us, ladies and gentlemen. Believe in yourself. I'm Jeremy Cordeau, Peter Clayton, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.